periods, which typically ran from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., I was on my way home around 11 p.m. I had to take the subway for roughly 12 stops, getting off at the last stop. By that hour, the subway was almost deserted. I cherish solitude. Give me my headset and music, and I'm content. So I plugged in my earphones, choosing a seat far from the only two other passengers. Things took a sinister turn when I noticed, peripherally, a man moving towards me. He was solidly built with dark hair, donning glasses, a black shirt paired with a hoodie. He took the seat right beside me, offering a creepy, unnerving smile. Instead of speaking, he just stared at my phone screen as I browsed through my songs. His heavy, peculiar breathing was disconcerting. Feeling more than a bit uncomfortable, I discreetly relocated to another seat further back. Yet, to my dismay, within minutes he was back at my side, that same vacant gaze and eerie smile directed at my phone. As I considered my options, I noticed the other passenger had vanished, heightening my sense of isolation and vulnerability. I decided to stand by the door, thinking he wouldn't follow. I was wrong. He promptly sat near the door, locking his lifeless eyes onto mine. Trying to maintain composure, I attempted to message my boyfriend, but he interrupted, saying chillingly, "I know no one will help you. You'd have sent an SOS by now. I know you didn't." As my stop approached, I stalled any overt reactions, trying to outwit him. When the subway halted, I bolted for the exit without a backward glance. It was only after reaching the surface that I realized I'd had pepper spray in my purse the entire time. A mere 5-minute walk from the subway, I felt a forceful grip on my wrist pulling me back. It was him. His fury was palpable. He ranted about how I should appreciate his attention, insinuating I wasn't conventionally attractive. He was wrong on both counts. It was him. The same black hoodie, dark hair, and dead-eyes stalker. He was furious and said, "Running from me? How dare you run away from me? You should be honored. I give you attention. I am fairly built for a woman, 80 kilos and 1.75 millers tall, so I guess he thought men don't find me beautiful or something, and should feel blessed that a creep like him stalks me and tries to hurt me. Now, my phone is in my bag. I can't call the police. I can't reach for the pepper spray. I panic. I can't kick him in the crotch. I can't scratch him as I don't have long nails. His hand is still on my mouth. What should I do? I did the most desperate and disgusting thing I could think of just to save my life. I played along. "I'm sorry," while his hand was on my mouth. He took his hand off my mouth and I repeated that I'm sorry. I didn't realize he was just flirting. He left his guard down and took his hand off my wrist. He asked me for my phone number and address to drop me off, but I refused, saying I'd rather add him on Facebook, and he agreed. I told him I'd reach for my phone, but instead picked the pepper spray and got him sprayed all over his face, made sure I'd cover his both eyes, nose, mouth, even his ears and hands. He instantly got all red, suffocating from the pepper and swelling up. I called the police, told them what happened and what I did. They asked me if he is immobilized, and I said yes, as the effect wears off in 45 minutes. The police arrived there 5 minutes later to see me shaking like a leaf and a man on the ground, swollen like a pumpkin, throwing up and swearing at me between gasps of breath. He was arrested, and the police told me they have been looking for him for the past week, as they discovered the body of a 24-year-old woman in his apartment. Fairly built lady, 177 poor, tall, 75 kilo, red hair. I have red hair too. The woman was his girlfriend, and ever since, he's never gotten back to the apartment. I do not know what he was planning. I can understand why he targeted me due to the similarities, but strangers in the subway stalking women at midnight, trying to befriend them, or even worse, murder them. I hope to God you and I never meet again. When I was 16, my friends, let's call them Evan and Jake, and I decided to rent a hotel room during spring break. Upon arrival, we noticed an odd smell, but we shrugged it off and checked in. By the time we settled into our room, it was 3 p.m. Eager to relax, we headed to the pool, which was located in a separate area from the hotel. As we approached the pool, a tall man, roughly 6'3", dressed entirely in black and with a hood obscuring his face, stood at the entrance. A rush of unease washed over me, but I kept my fears internalized. After swimming for a few hours, the same man reappeared, now seated by the pool. I mustered up some courage and asked, "Excuse me, sir. Can I help you?" He remained silent. Feeling uneasy, I dipped my face into the water and was startled to see another dark figure at the bottom. I let out a scream and rushed out, only to glance back and find both figures had disappeared. My friends dismissed it, thinking I was imagining things, but I knew what I had seen. Still feeling shaken, we decided to dine at a nearby restaurant. As I settled into our table, I noticed the same man in black staring at me from across the room. Frustrated and scared, I tried to confront him, but he quickly vanished. Disturbed by the events, I suggested we leave the next morning. However, Evan and Jake weren't convinced. Around 10:30 p.m., we all drifted off to sleep. I was jolted awake by strange noises and saw a shadowy figure at the foot of my bed. Trying to rationalize, I convinced myself it was the silhouette of my hat, which I'd placed there earlier. Yet when I was awakened again later and reached under my bed for a drink, I was horrified to find my hat there. My heart raced and my scream was stifled by a hand over my mouth. "You're a bitch," a voice whispered menacingly in my ear. I was overpowered by two men dressed in black who began dragging me out of the room. In my struggle, I blacked out. When I regained consciousness, I was on a stretcher. The attackers had stabbed me, and although someone had found me, the culprits remained at large. To this day, I sleep with a nightlight, a haunting reminder of that fateful night. This unsettling event took place when I was 11 years old in the 6th grade. While I often listened to my teacher, I was mostly a quiet student. One particular day during my 6th period gym class, as we were running laps, we'd make a turn at the end near a large fence. During one of these laps, I noticed a man, probably in his 30s, waving with an odd grin on his face. I couldn't discern who he was waving at, so I continued running. Once gym class ended, I packed up and prepared to head home. As I exited the school gate, I saw the same man again. This time, his grin had turned into a smile. Feeling uneasy, I quickened my pace, trying to put some distance between us. Once I felt I was a safe distance from the school, I glanced back, relieved to see he was nowhere in sight. However, as I continued walking, a blue car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down just a crack, obscuring the driver's face. A familiar voice spoke. "You seem like a smart, nice kid." Trying to be polite, I smiled and thanked him. But then he said my full name. Shocked, I asked him how he knew who I was. That's when he rolled down his window entirely, revealing himself as the man with the creepy smile. Panicked, I ran as fast as I could, not looking back until I was nearly home. When I did, his car was stationary in the distance. Reaching my house, out of breath and trembling, I hurriedly locked all the doors and windows and went straight to bed. I woke up later that night around 11:32 p.m. feeling thirsty. As I was getting a glass of water from the fridge, I heard a knock at the door. Peering out of the window, I was horrified to see the same man, holding something I couldn't make out due to the darkness. My heart raced. I feared I might faint. Rushing to my parents' room, I found their door locked. I knocked loudly, waking them up. In a panic, I told them about the man outside. My dad went to check, leaving me with my mom. Moments later, we heard a scream. My mom quickly called the police. By the time they arrived, my dad had subdued the intruder, who was armed with a kitchen knife and had been trying to break in through my window. The police arrested the man, and a couple of days later, they informed my dad about the man's intentions. My father told me that the man had been stalking me, watching me walk home from school and even peering into my window on multiple occasions. I tried to tell my friends, but some didn't believe me. Now, at 14, I often wonder what might have happened if I hadn't woken up that night and alerted my dad. That man might have broken in and harmed me.